Yo, what up guys, it's Flark, and welcome to my Windwalker Monk PvP guide for Dragonflight Season 1. This is a starter guide to get you involved in rated arena, rated battlegrounds, rated solo shuffle, the brand new one. So that's going to be super fun, and I think Windwalker Monk is actually very good in all three. In fact, it could be flying under the radar just a bit. I'm not saying that people don't recognize how much burst it has, which is a lot. But I think that, you know, the obscenity of Sub-Rogue or Demon Hunter or Lock or Shadow Priest or the crazy DK nerfs that came in, it's kind of all just, you know, blowing past Windwalker. I think they really have a chance of going live just like this. I'm not saying they need to be tuned. I'm actually just saying that this could be crazy. Windwalker Monks could have a very interesting start and very powerful start to the Dragonflight Season 1, which should be very fun for all Windwalker mains. I personally have a soft spot for Windwalker because it is the spec that I got most of my rank 1 titles playing with. DK Windwalker, fantastic comp. So I really love when it's good, and I really think it's going to be good now. So good, have fun with it, Windwalker mains. This is a great time for you. I swear this is a good spec with utility, mobility, double port, massive burst, strike of the Windlord, bone dust brew, all of these. And you get access to defensive cooldowns that you generally had to choose between. So you have like the best of all your worlds for once, and that's a really cool feeling, I'd say, for Windwalker mains everywhere. So let's get right into it, because that's what you're here for, not the blabbing, but the actual details, and we'll start right with gear. So go to this building. You know where to find it by now. Take a look at the Honor Quartermaster and get a full set of gear before the season starts, so you're not out of gear, under-geared rather. But then when Conquest comes out, you need to buy your weapons first. I know a lot of people are going to be asking, so a little spoiler into that. The start of the season, grab those weapons first. So impactful. Of course, if you get one from your first vault, you already have the other one from the first week. And then you have double weapon, and of course then you need to start buying the rest of your stuff. Maybe the tier set bonus pieces after that, the stuff that can be converted like chest and legs, big statted pieces. But yeah, grab those weapons first. But no, that's not what you're here for. What you actually care about is stats. You know how to buy gear, but what stats do I put on the gear? Easy, I got you covered. Verse, best stat. Mastery, right after that. Crit, when you don't have mastery on a piece, you need to go crit, and then haste you get none of. Effectively, the only haste I have is from my badge, and even that won't have haste on it when the Conquest piece comes out, because Conquest badge has crit on it. So what do I mean by that? Well, verse, you got on every single piece. That's your king stat. You're going to have it on everything, and you're going to have a ton of verse, which is great because it's amazing for Windwalker monks. Then mastery, you're getting on every piece that you can get it on. But if a piece does not have the mastery stat on it, you just go crit. That's it. So it should have a breakdown sort of like this. Verse, 3K. Mastery, 1,500. Crit, 900. Haste, effectively none. And when you go to the PvP dummy and hit it, you can see all your stats scale up. That's a 1,500, 2,500, 1,600, and 500. That shows you that perfect split that we want. The verse at the top, then mastery below that, crit lower than that on only the pieces that you have to get it on, and then no haste at all. Haste is just not that great a stat for Windwalker. It's never been one. They don't get faster globals from it. They have the dual resource system, so they don't really even need it for resource gen. And you even have this talent, Invoker's Delight, that gives you 33% haste during your burst, so you don't need any more than that. And that's how you gear your character. Of course, I already showed it, but yes, you're gonna run a badge. It is a burst class, Windwalker is, which means you want a burst trinket, and this allows you to just macro it right to Bone Dust Brew if you feel like it, or you can put it out separately. But Bone Dust Brew is a 1 minute cooldown, poof, and badge is a 1 minute cooldown, poof. So a burst-centric spec wants a burst-centric trinket, and that is what badge will do. As for enchants, of course, I don't recommend spending 20k or whatever it is for these crazy ones until the season starts and you get conquest gear that won't be replaced. But the ring enchants, you get the best stats first in mastery, and then I grabbed speed on my tertiary stats. That's cloak and bracers, because you're going to be kiting a lot or trying to be kited a lot, and adding to your already impressive mobility toolkit to make that as powerful as possible. You know, when you port out and you want to move away, then you port back, and then you want to engage after a roll, you want to just make sure you've got that speed to connect. Windwalker can do it all, and speed is a nice stat for them to have. Cool. Gear and stats was really easy. So let's talk about something a little bit more interesting here. Talents. Okay, I started off with Bone Dust Brew, the 1 minute cooldown there. You already saw that. But it's great. It was coined in Shadowlands, right? It was introduced to the game. It does it duplicates your damage. It's just a massive AoE and single target cooldown. And it's only 1 minute, so it's great because it pairs up exactly with leg sweep. Now, just about, right? So you get that 1 minute go, and then you play with the DK, right? And you grip, sweep, strike of the Windlord, Bone Dust Brew on top of it, massive AoE damage, replicated instantly. It's not like a long setup that you have to build up damage. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's a bang, bang play, and of course, you get the buff for Bone Dust Brew. So that capstone is very simple. You get Bone Dust Brew from Shadowlands, and then you buff Bone Dust Brew. Then I'm gonna take a look at the left side here. This is all the spinning crane kick talents. Here is the 200% damage, which is nerfed to 150% damage for a good reason. This is a massive AoE burst that's free, so you can use it at any time. That's a proc from Dance of Chi. Then here's Mark of the Crane, where you apply that with AoE blackout kicks now. To apply Mark of the Crane, I'll actually show you what I mean by that. So you need to apply this Mark of the Crane buff to as many unique targets as you can to buff your spinning crane kick, and subsequently your spinning crane kick procs. And you can do that with AoE blackout kick. So, poof, do you see that? 1, 2, 3. That's not 1, that's 5. I'm already stacked up, right? You can just blackout kick a few times with the AoE effect on that, which comes from a different talent that we'll show you, but I really wanted to show you how quickly that can build up 5 stack of spinning crane kick. And then when you get a proc and you have the modifiers from Mark of the Crane, the modifier from Dance of Chi, and then the modifier from Crane Vortex, and any other damage increasing modifiers that you have from cooldowns. Oh, and by the way, Bone Dust Brew. Yeah, if you get a proc, you can erase 3 people from the face of the planet. Neat! So yeah, the whole spinning crane kick side, very impactful. Oh, and by the way, there's that shadow boxing treads, the blackout kick AoE. It's on that left side, which means it is perfect. You kind of have to get it if you don't want to go inner peace, which you don't. So you're going to grab shadow boxing treads, give you that AoE spinning crane kick, Mark of the Crane application, and a little bit of extra damage, which is all fantastic. So here's the left side of that AoE burst centric setup. And of course, you get a little bit of a radius increase, which is nice because in PvP, people don't decide to stack directly on top of each other. So making sure you get everybody that you can in that burst window is always good. Okay, then the top talents are always, for most classes, they're just key effects, right? Karma, massive defensive. Fists of Fury, that's just a rotational ability, right? So we know what's going on there. So let's take a look at another capstone and work our way up. So Skyreach, this is Kiefer's. Now it's just called Skyreach. Huge crit buff, which is great because you have some crit on your gear, and then you have this 50% crit chance from Skyreach on a 1 minute cooldown, which, like I said, what do we have? Bone Dust, 1 minute. Leg Sweep, 1 minute. Right, so you have this 1 minute go where you can get all your modifiers. Now you can have nearly 100% crit chance because your base crit chance from your gear plus 50%. That's easily 80%, and as the season goes on, or rather the expansion goes on, get closer to 90% crit. Right? Well, probably 80% as the expansion goes on, then 90% maybe at the very end, if you can get that much secondary stats. It feels like we have a lot of secondary stats on gear, but whatever it is, it's a great modifier. And it even gives you a charge, so you can set up on a target by like charging to them, then sweeping them, then doing the 50% modifier. It is just so good for a burst spec. I talked even more than I had to about why 50% crit chance is good for somebody who likes doing burst damage. Sure. Zuen's battle gear is actually just another crit modifier, but this time it's specifically on Rising Sun Kick. But it's all the time. So this actually gives you some extra goes in between the 1 minute goes, from like a Fist of Fury with a Strike of the Windlord, which is only a 40-second cooldown, and a big Rising Sun Kick crit. And Storm Earth, it could be like a mini go in between goes, which is great. You always want to disrupt the enemy by doing offensive cooldowns when they don't have defensive cooldowns, right? So if you know that somebody doesn't have anything and they're at like 40% health, and you find that target, you can set up like a fist into a massive Rising Sun Kick with a Strike of the Windlord on a shorter cooldown to just finish somebody off with a Touch of Death, of course. We talked about this. This is 33% haste during your burst window. Haste isn't a great stat, but 33% is a lot of it. It lasts forever, and it's during your burst window, which is your most impactful time to do damage. So that's cool. Zuen does a ton of damage, and here are the Zuen modifiers. You got him himself, and then a buff to him to make him do damage based on how much damage you do, which is a lot. So now your Tiger Lightning is going to be cranking, and it's very difficult to peel you and your clones and your Tiger, except with an AoE Fear or something. But once they're out of CC, think mechanics like this start becoming ruthless damage, very difficult to deal with. You've got a Fist of Fury modifier, which is great because it still cranks. You've got this blackout kick strikes a bunch of extra times, which just adds to the damage it can do and adds to the AoE hits, but also can make it reset Rising Sun Kick, and Rising Sun Kick is your highest single target pressure ability, so yes, you want this up. We talked about Strike of the Windlord. It is a no-brainer. You've probably heard about it since the pre-patch was even released. This thing hits insanely hard. It's instant, only 2 chi requirement, and it crushes AoE, so it's a beautiful part of every leg sweep go. But not only that, based on how many people you hit, you actually just rock people with extra nature damage. So if you get a ton of demo lock pets in this, or unholy DK pets, or rather just a grip, triple blind, triple sweep go, you even add even more damage in the form of Thunder Fist to everybody in the go, right? Because you're just now blowing up everybody with the Strike of the Windlord, and now you're adding Thunder Fist to the main target, and oh, that's so difficult to heal. Yeah, I'm getting excited just thinking about it, okay? I play Windwalker DK. Excuse my excitement. I really want to play this comp. Frost Windwalker DK for all my DK fans in chat. That's what I want to play this season, so I'm getting excited. I think it's incredible how much they gave Windwalker for both output and utility. Okay, so more Rising Sun Kick damage, more Fist of Fury damage, more Fist of Fury damage, and that's all pretty well and good. So the main stuff you're talking about here is the big AoE go from this side with the Bone Dust and the Spinning Crane Kick. A lot of this middle stuff is just about giving you your Storm Earth, extending its duration for more burst, giving you a Zuen, extending its power with more damage and empowered Tiger Lightning, and then the setup here, I talked about that big burst window with Invokers, Kiefers, and Zuen's Battle Gear. All legendaries, by the way, from last expansion, and they got all 3. Coolio. Okay. All right, so now the left side, we're talking Utility Central. Okay. So a lot of this stuff is just core. I don't need to tell you why you need to pick Rising Sun Kick, Tiger's Lust. Soothing Mist is actually very interesting. You can top yourself behind a pillar. An extra roll charge. Big, you want all the Expel Harm modifiers because it actually heals for a ton. Here's one. Here's another Strength of Spirit. You can't, unfortunately, get the crit one. Even though you do have a ton of crit, you could maybe drop some things. If you dropped like Fast Para, you could actually probably try and go down this line. Looks like you would have to drop one more thing, maybe a little bit of extra damage. It's tough to go down and get this, as you can see, but it is pretty impactful because you have all that crit chance. And this is another big heal, but the other modifiers do a great job making that a great heal. Because remember, you're porting out and you want to top yourself. You don't want to die to dots behind a pillar since you just ported out of range of your healer generally. So you just want to port out and top yourself. And reverse harm plus soothing into Vivify is a good way to do that. Furthermore, you can also drop like things like 1 stack of Grace or 1 stack of Tigers, so you don't have the extended range, which is really nice. Because of how easy it is for people to slip out of that with all the mobility in the game. Grab Detox, which is poison and disease removal. This isn't technically base, right? Because there are certain comps where they just don't have any poisons or diseases. Like none. Like if you queue into a comp, like Mage Lock, there are no poisons and no diseases in that comp. So I see a lot of people running this because it's a staple ability, right? Detox, it's a staple ability. You've had it forever. You don't actually have to baseline talent into this. You can swap into this when you see Rogue, DK, any form of, I think even Survival Hunters like have poison effects, right? So you can switch in when you see those specs, but don't run this as if it's like an auto pick, because there are actually certain comps that this doesn't even do anything. It doesn't do anything at all. So that's why I don't have that set in as an auto pick. But okay, enough of the what are we changing around stuff, although that's insanely important in PvP, so we have to talk about it. But what are the staples? Para, that's CC. Tiger's Lust, that's mobility. Disable, that's a slow. Fort Brew, that's a wall. Fast Fort Brew, that's very important. Otherwise, this is way too long of a cooldown for you to ever use it twice in an arena. You've got your port, that's a staple. You've got this is what I was talking about. Dampen Harm, Diffuse, and of course Karma still. So you have 2 big defensives that you can run that you usually had to choose between. Now you can run them both, which is incredible. So that's a 60% magic wall, but also takes off all the dots. So that's Aflock dots, Shadow Priest dots. It even takes off Mind Games if you need to get that off of you. A great way to diffuse and then port and heal yourself up now that you don't have dots or Mind Games effect on you. And then Dampen is just a huge wall. Big hits are reduced by big damage, so you can't get nuked. Like, you don't want to use this like at tiny health. You want to pre-dampen a go, right? So you don't want to use this at small health, because then all you need to do is be hit by small effects like rot pressure or chip damage or bleeds or poisons to finish you off. But if you use it before a go and somebody gets like a big marksman aim shot or a massive Templar's Verdict from a ret, you can reduce that by a ton of damage. It just walls it off completely, but you have to predict when the damage is coming, not say, oh no, I'm almost dead, let me dampen harm. And believe me, I have that problem too, but that's what you want to do. If you want to be one of the best Windwalkers, you got to say, okay, I'm going to pre-dampen on a go, not, oh crap, I'm 3% health, let me dampen. Why? I did nothing. Windwalker sucks, right? That's what you don't want to do, okay? So, easy stuff. Wow, Rising Sun Kick does 70% more damage. Guess I should explain why that's good. No, I think I'll pass. Here's Celerity. This is another mobility button. Fantastic. You get more damage here. You've got ROP, which is just awesome utility. You can get healers back to you. You can even bump a cast, or you can knock somebody into a wall so they can't do anything, or you can peel melee off of your healer, or you can peel melee off yourself, or you can drop it on a pillar and then run the other side of the pillar and they can't chase you. Wow, 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 so good. Resonant Fist just does a ton of passive damage, and you don't get any of the capstones because they're dumb statues that do nothing. Even Summon White Tiger is stupid because people don't stay in the same place in PvP. They don't. Summon White Tiger statue needs them to stand in the same place, which they do not do. So don't use this. It's not that impactful. Okay, Touch of Death. Improved Touch of Death is required to be used in PvP. If you do not have this talent, then you'll see it like not ever activate. And you'll be like, what gives? I have Touch of Death. Why isn't it working? It's because you need improved Touch of Death. I don't think a lot of sources actually tell you this. You need this to actually use the ability in PvP, right? So yeah. Grab this talent so you can finish people off with Touch of Death. There you go. There's the Expel Harm healing, and that covers most of the good stuff. Of course, again, you can drop Tiger Tail Sweep and run over to Detox here. You could even probably drop 1 stack of Grace if you want to grab maybe like Vivify healing. You could even go Eye of the Tiger into Vivify healing, and there's a lot of little things you can choose based on like, okay, how much am I getting out of here? Trying to pour it out, get some Vivify heals. Oh, actually, I kind of want to stay in. Oh, do they have poisons? Oh, do they have diseases? Right? You have to make these adjustments in the lobby, and that's why it's really good to use a guide like this or watch your favorite Windwalker Monk streamer and just get a feel for what all the talents actually do, so you can switch them up based on the comps that you see. Cool. PvP talents. Turbo Fists, 90% slow and a parry. This is a absolute requirement against all double melee or anything with a melee. It's even decent against casters because of 90% slow, but it is no longer an auto pick because you don't parry double wizard. Like, there's nothing to parry, right? So 90% slow is nice, but you don't get that value. When there's any melee on the enemy team, you want to get parry because it makes you effectively have a defensive offensive slow, right? It's a defensive. It's an offensive because it does damage, and it slows them. It's 3 things baked into one. That's a great button. Reverse harm, more healing. We talked about why reverse harming healing is good. Alpha Tiger, there's another 20% haste. You want to know another reason why you don't need haste as a Windwalker Monk? Because you can press Alpha Tiger and get 20% haste for 8 seconds every 30 seconds. If you ever get a single ounce of haste on any piece of gear, I mean, unfortunately, you're just fried. Like, that's completely unacceptable. You don't need it. So yeah, if you want to drop something, you can even drop Alpha Tiger because, again, you have 33% haste. You don't need 53% haste for sure all the time. So if you're queuing into something that slaughters you, grapple their weapon. Rat Warrior, TSG, even Warrior Feral, just to get it off the Warrior. Kitty Cleave it used to be a huge comp. It might be good again this season, right? So anything with a Warrior, Ret, even a Demon Hunter. It's good to take their DKs. Oh, DKs. Sorry, fellow DKs. But yeah, Disarm is insanely good into us. So yeah, grapple their weapons. You can do some interesting stuff with Tiger's Eye. This is actually I want to talk about this and Ride the Wind as just utility niche options, especially since Ride the Wind is a decent pick to take off Turbo Fists if you are into a double spell cleave, because again, you don't need the parry, so you can actually just give you and your teammates mobility. But let's talk about Tiger's Eye Brew. This has had insane value and had negative value before. And I do mean negative, like it's actually a net loss to run it. But if armor, they've done some weird things with armor where like they reset the percentage value every season. So you go back down to 20 and then have to work your way back up to 30 as plate, like damage reduction from physical. It's so weird. But if they continue to do that, just probably you'll never look at this. But if armor ever gets to the point where you have a lot of classes, like especially with shields, like H-Pals and Arshamans that have a ton of shield armor, probably just H-Pals, because they're plate and they have the shield armor, and they ever get up to like that 40% damage reduction that you can get from armor, like physical mitigation, then yeah, Tiger's Eye Brew is a cool niche pick into them because it ignores all of it. So you lose damage. If you're not, this is not something you can just be like, wait, why don't I use that against any plate? I'd like to reduce it even if it's 20%. No, because it says it right there. Damage of your strikes is reduced, but they bypass armor. So they have to have heck a lot of physical damage reduction from armor. But again, H-Pals have generally been known for that. Prop Pallies even, when those vile things are in the game. But yeah. If they have 40% damage mitigation, just take a look at how the season is going. Maybe even get on a character of your own to see what armor is at. And if they do, it's a niche pick where you want to one-shot an H-Pal in the opener. He will not see it coming because you will ignore all of his armor, which is crazy. Okay, there's the niche picks. There's the talents. There's the stats. I really hope that gives you an edge, an interesting starting point going into the beginning of the season. Of course, we have a lot of time before we know definitively what's going on, what comps they're running, how the meta is developing, how Windwalker fits into the meta, because the season hasn't started and generally people don't even know 3 weeks, 3 months in. I think I saw DH Boomy come at the end of Shadowlands Season 3, even though it could have been good the entire season, and now it seems like a no-brainer, but at the beginning of the season it was completely unheard of. Wow, that's just how much experimentation matters. Especially with a new class Evoker being added to the game. Devastation Windwalker could be insane. That's a setup comp. I wish you guys the absolute best in your journey, and I hope that you find everything you're looking for and get that cool new Gladiator mount in the beginning of the Dragonflight expansion. Peace, and I'll see you in the next video.